I thought my wife was just cheating on me. But she built a criminal empire using my career, my name, and even our kids. You know how people say, you just know when something's wrong? They're right. It wasn't a fight, wasn't a look or a moment of silence too long. It was a whisper in my gut, a knot in my chest. I'd come home late. The house was dark. Emily was asleep. The kids, too. I was looking for my old law school books in the study. Ellie had Bring a Piece of Daddy's Job Day at school when I found it. A notebook. Heron tucked behind some books on the top shelf where she thought I'd never look. And yeah, I know. You don't read your wife's private thoughts. But something about how hidden it was. I couldn't help myself. Page after page, normal stuff. Grocery lists, ideas for the kids' rooms. Then one line punched me in the chest. I didn't mean for it to happen. I just needed to feel something again. But now, it's too late. My breath caught. I read it again. Too late for what? My hands trembled as I flipped the page. It wasn't love. Not at first. It was escape. But eventually, it started to feel real. I wish it didn't. I felt the world tilt under my feet. This wasn't fiction. This was a confession. And it was in her handwriting. I didn't slam the notebook closed. I didn't yell. I just sat there, staring at the wall. Listening to the quiet. The kind that only exists in a house where everyone's sleeping. And one of you is waking up to a nightmare. I didn't ask her the next morning. I made coffee. I packed Ellie's lunch. I kissed her forehead and told her to have a good day. And when I dropped the kids off at school, I went to work like nothing was wrong. But everything was wrong. That afternoon, I did something I never thought I would. I followed her. She said she had errands. I had a meeting. She smiled, kissed me goodbye, and left. But she didn't go to the grocery store. She drove to a hotel downtown, parked in the underground garage. I waited. 30 minutes. An hour. She never came back out. That night, I got a message. No name. No number. Just 5 words. Check the phone, her phone. And right then, I knew. This wasn't just a mistake. This wasn't a phase. This was a life I didn't know I was living. I couldn't sleep. Not with that text echoing in my head. Check the phone, her phone. It's crazy, right? We share a home, a bed, 2 kids. But her phone might as well have been a vault. Emily had always been protective of it. Never suspiciously so, not in a "what's she hiding" way. More like, this is my space. And I respected that. Until now. She fell asleep beside me like nothing was wrong. Like the walls of our life weren't crumbling right under us. And I waited. Waited until her breathing slowed. Until her body curled slightly toward the edge of the bed. Then I slid my hand under the pillow. Quiet. Careful. There it was. Warm. Locked. Face ID. No chance. But she'd let the kids watch YouTube on it last week, and Ellie had guessed the passcode just by watching her type it. 4 digits. Ellie said, "It's Mommy's birthday backward." Click. Unlocked. I held my breath. Messages. Photos. Notes. I didn't know what I was looking for until I found it. Tyler. My stomach dropped. My best friend. My brother. I opened the thread. You make me feel like I exist again. I hate lying to him. But when I'm with you, I don't hate myself as much. We have to stop. I know, but I don't want to. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not rage, not even heartbreak. Number photos followed. Nothing too graphic. But the looks, the closeness, the way she smiled. That wasn't fake. That wasn't survival. That was connection. I put the phone down, sat on the edge of the bed. She stirred behind me. "Logan?" My voice was flat. "Go back to sleep." She mumbled something and rolled over, and I just sat there. I didn't know what to do. Not yet. But I knew this. I wasn't going to confront her. Not yet. I was going to follow the thread. The next day, I showed up at Tyler's gym. He smiled like usual, slapped my shoulder. Dude, where you been? Haven't seen you in a while. I smiled back, lied right through my teeth. Work's been crazy. You know how it is. We talked. We joked. And all the while, I stared at him, wondering how long he'd been sleeping with my wife while shaking my hand. As I turned to leave, he called out, "Hey, let's grab a drink soon. Just the two of us, like old times." I nodded. Yeah, just like old times. He had no idea what was coming. Neither of them did. Because if they thought the pain stopped at betrayal, they hadn't seen revenge yet. The next few days, I played it cool. Kisses on the cheek. Dinner with the kids. The occasional love you tossed into the air like it still meant something. And Emily, she was perfect. Too perfect. She smiled a little too hard, laughed a little too much, and touched me like she was trying to remind herself she still could. But I had already started building something beneath the surface. My own investigation. I copied the messages, screenshotted every photo. I backed up her phone to my laptop while she bathed the kids. I installed a silent tracking app. Yeah, I went full spy mode. I needed to know the scope. How long? How deep? How dangerous? Because something about this wasn't adding up. The betrayal, yeah, that was personal. But there was something else buried in her phone. A hidden photo album. Password protected. And the name of the album? August. Our son Jacob was born in August. But these weren't baby photos. When I cracked the password, using Jacob's birth date of all things, I found a series of documents. Bank transfers, contracts, encrypted emails. Some of them were in her name, some in Tyler's. And then I saw mine. My name. My signature. On papers I had never seen before. Authorizing money transfers, property purchases, millions. I leaned back in my chair, cold creeping up my spine. This wasn't just an affair. It was a setup. A long con. I called Nate, a buddy from law school who owed me favors. I need you to run background checks on Emily and Tyler. Quietly. He didn't ask why. He just said, "On it." That night, I looked at her across the dinner table. Ellie was telling a story about a girl at school who eats ketchup with everything. Jacob was humming to himself with mashed potatoes on his nose. Emily laughed like nothing in the world was wrong. And maybe that's when it hit me the hardest. How easy it was for her. To smile. To cheat. To build a second life beneath the one we built together. But if she thought she was the only one playing a role, she was dead wrong. I cleaned the kitchen with her. Kissed her goodnight. And then I checked the tracker. She left the house at 11:12 p.m., told me she was going for a late-night grocery run. But the map said otherwise. She drove across town, parked in the same garage from a few days ago. I slipped out 5 minutes later, sat across the street in my car. She didn't meet Tyler. She met a man I'd never seen before. Tall, suit, serious. He handed her a briefcase. She handed him an envelope. Then they shook hands. What the hell was going on? This wasn't just betrayal. This was business. And I was in the middle of it. Or maybe I was the target of it. I stayed in the car, engine off, windows cracked just enough to hear the hum of the streetlights. Across the road, Emily stepped away from the man in the suit, briefcase in hand. He didn't look at her like a lover. No smiles, no touching. This wasn't an affair. It was a transaction. She walked away like it was nothing, heels tapping across the pavement. He lit a cigarette and disappeared down the side alley like he'd done it 1,000 times before. I snapped a photo of his face, zoomed in, and sent it to Nate. Run this guy. Urgent. 5 minutes later, Emily drove off. Straight home. She kissed me when she walked in, The same kiss she gave me every night. I faked a yawn. Did you get the groceries? She smiled. They didn't have the stuff for Ellie's lunch. I'll go again in the morning. Lieutenant, clean, smooth, practiced. The next morning, Nate called. Logan, that guy you sent me? Yeah. His name is Marcus Bell. He's not on social media, no public records, but he does show up in leaked documents from a corporate fraud case 5 years ago. I stood frozen in my office. You're telling me my wife is meeting with a white-collar criminal? I'm telling you your wife is laundering money through shell companies tied to someone who's done serious time for financial manipulation. And get this, one of the companies on the papers you showed me last night? It's registered in your name. I felt like I was going to be sick. What's the company called? He paused. Pierce Solutions Incorporated opened 2 years ago. Transferred over $3.2 million in the last 6 months. The address listed is your house. My house. My name. My wife. And I knew nothing. That night, she kissed me again. Told me she loved me. Tucked Ellie in with a bedtime story. And all I could think about was how she was building an empire on top of my life. I checked the safe we kept in the closet. She didn't know I had installed a hidden compartment months ago. Inside, I kept copies of everything. Our prenup. The kids' birth certificates. And now, those documents I found. The photo of her and Marcus Bell. Screenshots of the texts with Tyler. I was building a new structure now. Not a house. Not a career. A case. And I wasn't going to the police. I wasn't calling lawyers. I was going straight to the heart of it. The next day, I walked into Tyler's office. He was surprised to see me. Logan, hey, I cut him off. We need to talk. Alone. Now. He looked confused. Acted like he didn't know. But when I showed him the printouts, he went pale, completely silent. Then he said the one thing I never expected. Logan, I didn't know she was still doing it. Doing what? He looked at me, guilt in his eyes. She's not who you think she is. None of this is. I stared him down. Then start talking, or I swear to God, Tyler, I'll burn you both to the ground. Tyler's jaw clenched. His eyes darted toward the glass walls of his office, where his assistant pretended not to be listening. He gestured toward the blinds. I pulled them shut. Now it was just the two of us. He sat down slowly. His voice dropped. You're not gonna believe all of this, but I swear to you, I didn't start it. I leaned against his desk, arms crossed, staring him down. Then tell me how you ended up screwing my wife and helping her move $3 million through my name. He ran a hand through his hair. We met before you two got married. A few times. I didn't even know she was the same woman until years later. And by then, it was too late. What do you mean, too late? He sighed. She showed up one day, said she needed my help, said she couldn't involve you. She made it sound like it was about the kids. Something with custody. Something from her past she was trying to hide. I swear, Logan, she never said a word about the money until months in. I stared at him, cold. And the affair? His face twisted. Guilt. Shame. That was me being weak. I won't lie. She knew exactly how to pull me in. But I stopped it. It didn't last long. And believe me, it never meant anything to her. That made it worse. Somehow, that made it feel like a deeper betrayal. Why didn't you tell me? I asked. He looked up at me, eyes red. Because I was scared. Because I thought you'd kill me. Because she told me if I opened my mouth, you'd lose everything. Your kids, your house, your name. And I believed her. She's not just your wife, Logan. She's something else. I clenched my jaw. You're telling me she's using me as a front. For what? For something big. I don't even know the full picture. But there's a man she answers to. Not Bell. Someone else. I've never met him, only heard his name once. I narrowed my eyes. What name? Tyler swallowed. Carver. The name hit like a punch in the gut. Because I'd heard it before, in one of the encrypted emails I'd pulled from her phone. Carver. The invisible signature. The one no one seemed to know, but everyone feared. Tyler leaned in. Logan, whatever she's into, it's deep, organized, global level deep. And now you're in it too. I stood up. No, Tyler, I'm not in it. He looked confused. Then what are you gonna do? I stared out the window at the city skyline, heart burning. I'm gonna end it. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in my office, surrounded by documents, flash drives, and cold coffee. And then I heard it. Emily's voice. Soft, almost whispering, from the baby monitor, even though both kids were already asleep. I turned up the volume. She was on the phone. Yes, he suspects something, but it's fine. He won't do anything reckless. That's not his style. Silence. Then she said, if he finds out about Carver, we move. No hesitation. You have the passports ready? Passports. Move. Leave everything behind. She was planning to disappear. With the kids. Without me. I turned off the monitor, stood up slowly, and looked toward the hallway. Her silhouette passed in front of our bedroom light. That was it. She thought she was one step ahead. But I had one card left. One she didn't know I held. A backup drive. With everything. Every email, every message, every bank transaction, copied and hidden months ago on a gut feeling I couldn't explain. She was ready to vanish. But she didn't realize I was ready to let her go. But not before tearing down everything she built behind my back. I waited until she fell asleep. She always curled up on her side, back to me, like she couldn't bear to face me in the dark anymore. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was something worse, apathy. I lay there with my eyes open, going over the plan again and again in my head. I had one shot, and I had to make it count. By sunrise, I was already dressed. Suit and tie. Calm. Controlled. Kids still sleeping, Emily brushing her teeth in the bathroom like it was any other Tuesday. Big meeting today? She asked casually. I looked at her through the mirror. You have no idea. At 9 a.m., I was sitting across from a private investigator I'd hired weeks ago. Her name was Marla Cruz, retired FBI, now working off the books for people like me who had everything to lose. I slid a flash drive across the table. Everything's on here. Names, accounts, transactions, passwords, and a voice recording from last night. Marla plugged it into her laptop and started scanning. Her expression shifted from curious to impressed to concerned. Jesus, Logan, your wife isn't just laundering money. She's a fixer, a high-level operative working under someone with international ties. This Carver guy, he's real. He's been flagged by multiple agencies, but no one can touch him. I leaned in. But I can touch her. She raised an eyebrow. You want her arrested? No, I said. I want her exposed, publicly. To every agency, every name on that list. I want her burned from every side. No shadows left to hide in. And I want my kids protected. At all costs. Marla gave me a slow nod. Consider it done. The next 48 hours moved like a hurricane. Anonymous tips were sent. Data drops, encrypted leaks. And Emily, she never saw it coming. It all hit the news one afternoon, right as she was picking up Ellie from school. I was home when it broke, her photo on the screen, pixelated with the headline, Wife of Prominent Attorney Tied to International Money Laundering Scheme. I knew the moment she saw it, the moment the panic hit. The front door slammed open. Logan, she screamed. What the hell did you do? I stood there, calm, holding a manila envelope. What I had to.
She stormed toward me. "You don't understand. These people will kill you. They'll kill the kids. You should have thought of that before dragging us into your world." She froze, stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. "You don't get it, do you? You were never a victim. You were the plan. From the start." That's when I tossed the envelope at her feet. Inside were the divorce papers, custody requests, restraining order, evidence of her fraud, all prepped and filed. Her hands trembled. "You won't get away with this." I smiled. I already did. A week later, she was gone. Vanished before the feds could grab her. Carver, too, disappeared like smoke. But the kids were with me. And for the first time in years, I could breathe. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel powerful. I felt free. I sat with Ellie and Jacob in the backyard, watching the sunset. And when Ellie asked me, "Where's Mommy?" I just said, "She had to go away." And in that silence, I finally understood the truth. Sometimes betrayal isn't the worst thing a person can do to you. Sometimes it's the beginning of who you're meant to become.